So this building actually is 30 years old. So it looks nice because we take care of it. We take care of the wonderful equipment that the town provides us, and that you as the residents, give us the opportunity to purchase things. So we try to take care of our things, because we spend a lot of time here. Most officers end up working between 60 and 70 hours a week, if not more. So we are here a lot. And
why is that, why is that high? Why do officers work 60, 70 hours instead of a 4-hour work?
So they're scheduled for 40 hours,
Yeah.
and we do shift work.
Yeah.
So, but what happens is we always need police officers on patrol, and people take vacation days, sick days, comp days. So when someone's out, someone else has to fill in. Now, there are 12 officers full-time. Myself and the lieutenant are in that 12, but we don't take a slot that's on patrol because we have other administrative functions. So somebody always has to work. And so we always have 2 officers working, and plus a dispatcher as well. And that's, so people can come in here. They can, if they want help, there's many different ways. And one of the ways is the way you guys did. You guys came into the station, and, you're starting your tour, but some people will come in and ask for help. And sometimes we're in the conference room, and you can have a private conversation there, or sometimes we bring people to a separate room. But we're always willing to come to your house too, or, we will travel to you. We don't make people come here. We will go to you. You guys pay, a lot of money, and we will, as a service. But sometimes people don't feel comfortable with us going to your house, or coming here, so we can always meet somewhere else too. If you need to talk to us. All right, before we get going, is there any questions? Okay. You're gonna meet a lot of different people. We're gonna start with dispatch, and they're going to, she's gonna go over everything in dispatch, and then we have I have 3 mental health clinicians here tonight. I have the supervisor that manages the Stow Harbor program. I have our jail diversion clinician, because we believe in providing resources for people. And I'm going to keep talking until she's off the phone. And then we have what's called a community resource navigator, which somebody who doesn't know how to get through a resource, or how to get health care, or if they need more support, we can provide that through the police department too, because we're open 24/7. And so people call us all the time for whatever reason they need. And so we always want to be able to, if we don't have the answer, we want to be able to provide it. But we also want to be able to give that too. And our clinician program has been working great for 3.5 years. But it's kind of in the infancy, but 3.5 years is still really good. Are you all set, Laura? Okay. Sorry, I said.
I'm one of 4 dispatchers. My name's Laurel. This is my dispatch center. We filter all of the calls that come in through either the business line or the 911 through here. And then we also field all the walk-ins. And then we also process a lot of paperwork for RTC application or any other licensing. And then we also take calls for utility companies, and I dispatch them to wherever they need to go if there's an emergency.
Yeah, so it's not only police. You get calls if the power goes out.
Correct.
People call you,
yes.
Right? And then you call Hudson Light.
Yep.
Okay.
So we do utilities, we do the DPW highway, we do ambulance, fire, and police. So all those calls come through either the 911 phone or the business line.
What do you mean by the business line? Is that called the non-emergency line?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is like a regular 978 number, and then this is you dial 911.
Okay.
Does Stow cover any of the highways? Are you responsible if an accident, a severe accident on the highway 495 is too far away? That's
yeah, no. So unless they call from a mutual aid company, they need a second ambulance, or if they need help with traffic, we don't initially respond. Those are for other towns that either have an exit that come off the highway or that touch the town.
Yeah.
So we don't have any highways that directly touch Stow.
How many calls do you get per day? What do you think?
It varies. Today was busy. We probably had about 15 calls today.
Okay.
Since 6:30 this morning. Here.
Have you been on since 6:30?
Yeah.
Oh, so do you work 12-hour shift?
So no, we work 8-hour shifts. I'm just here on a double today. So So it's not the normal, people would usually just work their 8 hours.
Is that so you can call like the what everyone like the fire and the police? Is that so you can call
Down
whatever
here?
you no on
Oh.
like the desk?
Oh, yes, this is our radio, this is our fire radio, this is our police radio. This is our District 4 radio, which is fire. So if there's a large fire or a large incident, this is where we call mutual aid from. They call us on this. We can dispatch other towns to assist us. And then this is a tone box, which when we get a medical or fire, we push send and it sends out like a specific tone, and each tone means something different. One can mean a fire, one can mean medical, and then we have a tone of something that's very serious and like we need to evacuate a building, or if there's like another, like a plane crash or another.
Where does this tone go to the police officers?
It goes
that
to
are out?
fire and police.
Okay.
It goes to the department direct to the fire station, and they hear it over an intercom. And then they hear my voice or whoever's on dispatch. It'll say Stow Fire announcing an alarm. Respond to 305 Great Road for a structure fire or a medical. 50-year-old inmate experiencing shortness of breath. Whatever the call is. And then they tell me who is responding. So they'll say, Rescue 17 is our ambulance. Rescue 17 responding. And then whoever else comes, and then the police sign on and say they're coming as well.
Okay.
And what kind of training do you need to do that?
So we have 2 classes we go to. One is a week long and one is 3 days long. And it trains you how to use all this equipment, all the software. It trains protocols and like how to handle certain calls, how to answer the phone. We have to say certain things like, this call is being recorded. And then it shows us how to like use the map. So whenever somebody calls, as you can see here, like it zones in on where they are. So if they're unresponsive or they can't talk for some reason, we can at least get a location. So that teaches us how to use all that. So it's about 7 days of training, and then we have hours that we do here in observation, and we shadow someone and basically get approved to be on our own.
And what do you do, or what, how, I can imagine you get, pretty dramatic calls from time to time, right? And we briefly talked about mental health already with the chief. How do you get, support if, somebody calls and it's in distress and I think it affects, you as well? Do you get?
Oh,
Do you
personal
get-
support?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. We do a lot of debriefing here. We have a lot of group debriefs, and then we also have access to one-on-one.
Yeah.
We have access to like other outside providers if we need it. And this department's very supportive on everybody here if they need to, take time or if they need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fire department's very supportive.
Cool.
Just go back to that map.
Yeah.
So if someone's calling from a landline, it's still pinpoint?
Yeah.
So,
It's actually more accurate than a cell phone.
who has a landline these days? Oh,
Sorry. A lot of people actually still
Yeah,
have landlines.
I
We get a lot of
just-
landline calls.
it's part of the pack, the bundle, and
Yeah.
why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Do you guys want to see what it looks like when a 911 call comes in? We can do a test so you can see it.
If you don't mind,
Yeah, of course.
Does it sound special?
Yeah, you can hear.
The pilot also.
Doesn't work now?
No, it doesn't. There you go.
That's what it sounds like when it rings.
Okay.
So this is obviously just a test, but you can see the map and how it kind of shows where the call is coming from.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I can zoom in, so if they were like field or something, they might be able to get a more accurate. This is like a mile marker. With 305, it's
That fell or on the stray or something like
Yeah.
It works with all telephone companies.
we've like
so
located
it's
people on
like
golf
all-
courses and kind of
Also work on
pinpoint like
Correct.
maybe what hole they're on, or like in the apple orchards. Sometimes we'll do the
Oh, yeah.
And you can text to 911 too. So if
Okay.
you're in a position where you can't, I hung up just so you know because there was
Okay.
feedback. So, so you can text to 911 as well. So if you're ever in a position, which hopefully you never are, where you can't speak, you can text 911 and write out what you need. Or there's what's called the silent call procedure, where the dispatcher has ways, like with you just hitting a couple buttons on your phone, to get the information needed to dispatch officers and medical.
And how does my phone know to call you and not, let's say, Hudson, right?
Yeah.
Because we're
I
on.
don't understand that either.
So it goes off the location, it's gonna
Okay.
hit a tower. So whatever tower it
closest,
hits,
okay.
it's gonna send it to that town's 911.
Okay.
So sometimes if you're on a cell phone, you'll notice you get Stow when you're in Hudson or vice versa. So we just transfer, so I can actually just hit this button and it'll transfer to whatever town.
Nice.
And then they pick up, I can still listen, and then I can give them a little, message of what's going on, and then I can send a call.
Okay.
Now, I have called 911 and they'll say, like, what's your emergency? Is it police or medical? I was like, are you doing this?
So we just ask what's your emergency, and then if we need to ask more specific questions, we'll do that.
Okay.
And then, yeah. We also have TTY, so people who are hard of hearing or can't speak and use a special phone, those come through as messages. And that's something we can type back and forth as well. So sometimes they have a phone with a screen with like a video and someone is signing to them what I'm typing or saying. And then, they have a screen that they can type to me and then they see my response and text back. So you keep some assisted devices.
Mm-hmm.
Get these things well. We have our cameras up here so we can see everything that's going on. We actually have 2 stations. But we only man one dispatcher a shift unless there's something going on with all. Sometimes we're helping somebody can come in and assist and split the calls, or someone will just do police and someone will just do fire, depending on what's going on.
Where does the call go if you already answered 911 call, just the case you have a second coming
Good
in?
question. So if a second one comes in, someone else can answer it over there, but if there's no one available, it'll automatically direct to Hudson. And then they can either field the call and send it to us, or if it's something we are unable to respond to, we would ask for mutual aid.
So Hudson could come over to Stow, Maynard would come over if you need. If you are, all the police officers are busy,
Yeah.
you're busy, they would send somebody from the other towns.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have mutual aid agreements with most towns in this area. So all the way to like Lancaster, Bolton, Hudson, Acton, Boxborough, Sudbury, Maynard.
Okay. Is this sometimes necessary? Can you remember cases where, an
Yeah.
entire region needed to answer?
A lot of fires pull a lot of resources because you need to keep your station manned. So they might pull an engine from Stow, an engine from Harvard, and then if they need a tanker, that might come from Boxborough,
Mhm.
and then they'll have their ambulance and their fire on scene as well. Some towns only have certain apparatuses, like we don't have a ladder, so we would call Hudson for a ladder if we needed to do its second story or third story fire. Some towns don't have tankers, so they use us in Boxborough for mutually for that,
Okay.
because they may have hydrants, but they may just need more water.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then sometimes we've had 2 medicals at the same time in our town, so our ambulance is tied up, so we'll call Maynard for assistance, and they'll come and transport the second medical.
Hi, everybody. So we'll do a quick go around, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about the JDP program that operates out of the Stow and Harvard Police Departments. So I'm Kristen. I'm the supervisor for the program.
I'm Rachel. I'm the co-response clinician for the Stowe Harvard Police Department.
I'm Sonia, I'm the post response clinician for JD.
Yep. And then we have one of the Fitchburg State interns here with us today. He's with the actual police department. He's an intern for the PD. So Josh, go ahead.
My name is Josh, a senior at Pittsburgh State. I've been interning here since January. It's a accredited internship, so it takes care of 9 credits, and it's a good way to, kind of get yourself familiar with what it's like working at a police department, like the day to day, and it also, kind of eases you into, what it's going to actually be like.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
It's been great.
Yeah, so Stowe often has interns here from Fitchburg State. So if you have college-age students that are interested in law enforcement careers, Josh would answer questions for you on that. So I'm the supervisor for the JDP program here at Stowe. Like I mentioned, and the others mentioned, we
Say briefly, JDP.
jail diversion program. Thank you.
Good.
Yes, very thank you. Jail diversion program. JDP is kind of like an ever-growing, maybe outdated term because clinicians that work at police departments do a lot more than just jail diversion. That's where those programs initiated or originated from, was trying to, when someone had a mental health concern and they were being seen by a police officer, let's try to divert them from arrest or charges and get them the mental health care they need, which is certainly what we're doing in a lot of cases. But unfortunately, folks who are having a mental health crisis now still have 911 as their main option if they're experiencing a crisis. To get help quickly, to get to a hospital, 911 is still the fastest way to get that. Massachusetts and a lot of other states are working really hard to improve those systems. But clinicians work in PDs because not everyone having a mental health crisis is intersecting with the police for a criminal matter at all. Sometimes they are literally just in crisis, and calling 911 was the fastest way they knew to get someone there to
It's
help
actually
them.
maybe a barrier, right?
Exactly.
Creates anxiety.
Yes, it does. And, police are so well-meaning and they go through a lot of training on mental health care. But there's just some things we know that, the people in the crisis and the police want that care to be really focused on their safety and not having it look even like there could be a law enforcement angle there, right? Sometimes people, like I mentioned, are just in crisis. So that's what the clinicians housed at PDs are there to do. We go with them to any call for service that they want us to go with. So if someone's having a mental health crisis or a concern at all, substance use concerns, we can be there to kind of offer those resources right on the scene. Other things clinicians go to, we can go to scenes of car accidents and, kind of comfort people that have just, experienced an immediate trauma, calm nerves and that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of things we can do. So we have been here at the Stow PD since 2022, and it's a really fabulous program. Some departments like Stow partner with another police department like Harvard, just so that way the call volume is there. So the clinicians kind of bounce. Every other day they're in one of the other departments, because Stow doesn't have quite the call volume that, to support a full-time employee. But together, a couple of police departments, we can rotate through and respond to calls in real time. And we can also, anytime the police encounter someone when the clinician's not working, they can submit the call to us for follow-up, and we can call those family members and just say, hey, we know that the police were out last night, or you guys had this tragic incident happen yesterday. Can we help connect any dots for you? Do you have any questions? And then it's off the police's radar, and we can just put people back in touch with the community supports that they need.
Are you an employee of Stow Police Department or a contract?
Contract, it's a great question. So we all work for Advocates, which is a big mental health human service agency that covers, we have offices all over the place, all over the state. But Advocates is the agency that provides 24-hour mobile crisis services for the town of Stow. So this is a shameless plug for just to spread the news, because people don't know that these services exist. If you or someone you love or someone you know is having a mental health crisis, and there's no imminent safety concern, you just really need a therapist or a clinician on the phone with you to help you figure out what to do next, to just talk you through a panic attack, or I need services but I don't really know what to put into place, you can call the mobile crisis number. It's a 24/7 number, and you're going to reach an Advocates clinician. So we work for that agency. It's almost like having a mobile crisis clinician just parked right here at the PD when that happens to happen, when the PD goes out. But anyone in the state can call 24-hour mobile crisis services and get them over the phone or in person.
So you partner with Harvard, and how many other surrounding towns have?
So many. Oh my! I don't even know that I could venture to list them. Our program is just Stow Harvard.
And Hudson have them as well.
Maynard has a clinician, not through Advocates, through another agency. I believe Maynard is an Elliott Human Services program, but they have a clinician through that agency. Hudson and Sudbury are another partnership PD that Advocates has within our programming. So we have a clinician that covers Hudson Sudbury. We've got a full-time clinician in Marlborough. We have 2 full-time clinicians in the city of Lowell. We've got a couple clinicians out in Watertown and Belmont, Shrewsbury, Grafton, Millbury, Sutton, all of those towns. We're all over the place. Yeah. And then a lot of outside of Advocates, like I said, there are other agencies that are hiring clinicians just like us. And there's some towns that are just funding these positions municipally. It's great questions, you guys. Any other questions? Do you have a question?
Quick
Yeah,
question
sorry.
for you. So if you guys are working in Harvard, let's say, right, and Stow were to need somebody, could you leave and come back?
Sure do. Rachel did that today. She was actually working in Harvard today and got called over here to Stow. So the police departments that partner together do make a mutual aid agreement. So there's an agreement between the PDs that they will transport the clinician from one town to the other if they're needed in real time.
So you are traveling with the police cars, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
But you're civilian clothes.
Yes.
You don't come with a
Exactly.
gun or something.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. We're all licensed mental health clinicians or, have background in the mental health field. We show up in plain clothes. But co-response is different from a follow-up model where clinicians take their own cars out to folks, after the fact. Co-response means we do sign those waivers, to say, yeah, we'll jump in a car and, drive really fast to get somewhere.
And have you ever, like, for your safety, had to put a vest on?
I have never had to do it, but we are all issued one. Yes.
Okay. And the officer might say, I think you need to put your vest on
100%.
or get back or whatever.
Absolutely, and that's part of our training. All of our clinicians and advocates go through a really rigorous 6-week field training process. So when you apply for the job and or you accept a role, you have to go through 6 weeks of field training where you join some of our other clinicians and all of our other departments to make sure you're really comfortable with how fast-paced it can be. On the opposite, sometimes how slow it can be. We learn those kinds of things. If an officer is telling you we're not comfortable with you coming out of the car or being on the scene, we never insert ourselves. We're always there to follow the police's lead. And, we have vests just in case we were to need them.
I think the chief said the program is about 3.5 years.
It is.
old.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. Yep. And
Okay.
I started here as the co-responder.
Okay.
And so I just recently, back in October, took a supervisory role. So I oversee a few of the different programs, and Rachel's our new full-timer. And we just invited Sonia onto the team, and she's gonna do. I know she's doing great, but we're still piecing it together. Sonia's gonna do what's called post response. So we're gonna kind of have a little hybrid program out here in Stow and Harvard, where we will have a co-responder for any real 911 call that comes in. But sometimes when we encounter folks, they might need a clinician to meet with them a few different times over the next few weeks. They might need follow-up a month from now. They might have some really simple thing, like I'm just having trouble getting my health insurance in place. The Mass Health Connector is mind-boggling. Maybe you just need someone to sit with you and do something like that. And a co-responder, because we need to be available for the PD the entire time we're here, we don't have the ability to go and just support people in that way. And Sonia will have that ability. She'll be able to fill that gap for us a little bit. Do you guys have any other questions? If you have questions in the future, you can email, call, visit, whenever. Yeah, go ahead.
So we are working at McLean.
Oh,
we
awesome.
know a little bit of.
Yeah.
What is your perception of the last 3 years? Is it increasing? Is the demand for you increasing? Is it steady? Is it?
I would say it's
your...
very steady.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to say. We're a very data-driven program, so we keep data on everything we do because all of our programs are funded through the Department of Mental Health. Our interactions with folks are entirely dependent on police data too. It follows that because we're not mobile crisis, so we're not responding to someone who's calling just for the mental health care. We're responding to specifically those niche calls that are both mental health and police related, right? So our data tends to follow the trends of police data. So if police calls are up, our calls are likely up as well. If police call volume is low, our call volume is inherently low. I think since Massachusetts has launched the CBHCs over the last year or so and the Mass Behavioral Health Helpline, they're trying to introduce all these new tools for people to be able to get that mental health care when they need it without having to call 911. I think those services are seeing a sharp increase in their usage, which tells us that people want and need to get that emergency care for themselves, but we're starting to catch on that we don't always need the police to be the ones to respond to those things.
Does it make the police officers comfortable that you take over maybe a role that they're not equipped and educated for? Right?
Yes, absolutely. Our police officers are so well trained. They get so much training on mental health care. They love having us on scene though because I think we come with some of the knowledge about how the system works. Police officers are great assessors, so they know when someone really needs to get to a hospital, when someone can stay home. Sometimes they lack that, but then after the hospital, what happens then? And a clinician, we can call the hospital and help coordinate that care and, even do bed searches and stuff because we're connected to an advocate's, to an agency. So we kind of fill the gap on the outside where it's more about the care coordination for folks. But it does take some time to build the trust. It doesn't come immediately, right? It takes a little bit. It is. It does happen fast. But they need to see, police officers just kind of need to see us show up and see that we know how to do our job and know that we're going to defer to them. If they feel like something needs to go in a different direction, we're not going to step on their toes or get in the way at all.
One more question from me.
Yeah.
For the kids. Can you tell what was your education and how did you get here?
Great
If
question.
this is
So-
a career.
Yes, and actually we all have very different ones, so it'll be good to hear all the different ways you can land in a role like this. So I have a bachelor's in human services, I got my master's in social work, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker.
I got my undergraduate degree in education. I then went on to get my master's in mental health, clinical mental health counseling, and I am on track to get my licensed mental health license, my LLHC.
Yes.
Yeah, but previous to here, I was working in a school, so I had the opportunity to kind of look at couple different roles, which landed me here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
In school, what were you doing?
I was a school counselor in a middle school.
And then Sonia.
Well, I was an economics major, naturally. These chairs are kind of funny.
I know they're very delicate.
I then did my master's in public health. I did a lot of teaching actually in the prison system and worked in a detox as well. And now I'm here.
All roads lead to here. Yes, there's a wide variety of backgrounds for GDP clinicians.
Sorry, I have one more question.
It's okay.
In your name, there's diversion, right? Diversion.
Yes.
You want to prevent people go to jail, right?
Yes.
What do you do in this space, especially in a rural setting like this? So, it's not about the mental health aspect of your work, but what do you do? Do you go to schools here to the Hale Middle School and
To like
to
respond.
kind of
Oh.
to maybe educate or to kind of again prevent
Yeah.
in the broader sense prevent crimes or prevent that people go on the wrong path? Is this part of the job
Not
or no?
explicitly,
Okay.
but in departments like Stow and Harvard, where sometimes we can have a little more time on our hands, we'll go anywhere they take us. And so the PD has taken me to great trainings in the past. They find ways to involve us in the school. So any chance we get to do some, joint cross training between the schools and the PDs and other agencies, we love those things. But it's not an explicit part of our job. It's really just about that when folks are at that intersection where their mental health challenges have landed them, where they are interacting with the police. Is there anything we can do to divert from charges or arrest or the emergency room, right? Sometimes folks are experiencing a mental health crisis that doesn't require an emergency room visit. Can we calm things here? Can we tap into some of our safety plan skills? Do we have a loved one we can call to avoid that emergency room trip when that's not even really necessary? And sorry, Kristen, That's just okay. chime in. I would say save that particular jail diversion
Yeah.
question to Chief, just because I know he has a program he's very involved in that I think will address that. So just, you know where I'm going with that.
I do,
So,
yes.
yeah, I would say that just for that, because I think they'll be pleasantly surprised by the answer. It's just kind of different than the clinical route, if that
good.
makes sense.
Thank you.
You are so welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Thank you for
coming.
coming.
You can
We can tell you're very passionate about what you do.
Oh, we are.
And
Yes, we
that's
love
wonderful.
our jobs. And we love working with Stow. Stow's such a great PD, and it's been a great program to build. So we have a lot of fun here. And we are always open for questions, phone calls, emails. I can give you all my card at the end and reach out anytime.
Chief only refers to you as the lieutenant.
I am the lieutenant. Kelly, I go by Kelly.
Kelly Barhide, Stow Police Lieutenant. I'm Michael Solisi, you guys saw me out front. So we're here to answer any questions that you have. A few cookies is,
I have a question right away.
Go ahead.
Tell me a little bit about the hierarchy. You're the chief, you're the lieutenant. Just explain a little bit what is the hierarchy in the chief's department and, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. So police agencies are paramilitary, right, organizations, and they do have a hierarchy, and the chief sits at the top, and the chief is in charge of the entire police department.
He deals with the budget, he deals with anything, equipment wise. And then what falls on the lieutenant is operations. So I deal with the personnel. He deals with everyone. But I am more involved in the personal daily operations of, where the guys are scheduled, where they're going. And then a sergeant is in charge of the day-to-day activities of the shift that they are in charge of.
Okay.
And then your patrol officers are in charge of patrol.
So 4 levels of hierarchy: the chief, the lieutenant, sergeant, and then.
It's dependent upon the police agency.
Okay.
We have like Boston PD, right? They have commissioners, they have deputy commissioners, they have homicide, so we're a much
Okay,
smaller
yeah, okay,
agency.
okay.
So the hierarchy is gonna be much more bigger when you're
Yeah.
dealing with a larger agency, but here, she's number 1 in charge, I'm number 2.
Yeah.
And then it goes down from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Didn't you transfer from another
Yes.
Okay, so your time at the other PD counted
Yes.
towards,
Yeah, so in my agency that I came from, I was there for 17 years. I was a patrol officer, a detective, I was promoted to sergeant, and then I came here and took promotion as lieutenant.
because you knew you have an opportunity here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So we have 6 patrol cars and 1 administrative car, so we have 7 total. So I'm responsible for being available 24/7. So I have a take-home car, and so if the officers need me or there's an incident that I have to respond to, that I come in and respond. And then the six patrol cars out there, and we have 2 officers on at a time, so we continue to rotate those through. So we try to keep the mileage down. Typically, a police department will keep a cruiser for 2 years. We keep ours for 7 to 8 years before we trade them in. So we usually go up over the 100,000 mile, and we keep them usually a year or 2 after warranty is over. So we want to get the most life out of our vehicles. And once they start going down, we run out of cars really fast. I think it was like a year and a half ago, we were down to like 3 cruisers.
Mhm.
And that means 2 of them are running 24/7, and that they get tired after a while.
Yeah.
So, because it's not only just the mileage you put on them, it's the engine idle time. And the engine for every hour is around 25 miles. So when we trade in a car, they have 13 to 15,000 idle hours on them. That's an extra 250,000 miles.
It's a lot of wear and tear.
It's a lot of wear and tear. So we try to, and we'll go over what the cruises are. We'll show you all the cruises, but we're trying to go more green. We have 2 electric cruisers. We're trying for a 3rd one coming up at town meeting. So hopefully that passes. And we're going to get rid of our last all internal combustion engine, and that will be an electric cruiser, and the rest of them will be our hybrids right now.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but then going to your question, so there's 12 of us. So what was your follow-up then?
No, similar. You need to kind of share, right? Not every officer has 1 car, right? You need to.
Correct.
Right, they should share.
There
Absolutely.
have been studies that say that if we give their officer their own car, then they last about 10 to 12 years. So if we did that, because it's your own, you're taking care of it.
Yeah.
As much as they take care of these ones, you still have different drivers, different styles.
Yeah.
So, but if you give one person a car, it's like their own personal car, then the studies have said it can go 10 to 12 years. But I think that just puts too much strain on the budget for the town to do that. So we just try to do 1 car a year. That's why if we have 7, that's why we keep them for so long, because then they just 1 a year.
Yeah, retire one.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Tell us a little bit about your daily work. As a chief, it's a lot of administration.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to start off?
Sure. So we can talk about so we'll start with the patrol officers, what their daily work is, and we can work our way up. So the sergeants and the patrol, what they end up doing, they handle all the calls for service that come in. You guys, like I said before, that one of the ways to come into the police station and ask for help is to come through the front door. And then you also you saw dispatch roles able to talk to you about the 911 calls that come in, the business lines that come in. So people ask for help, our officers go on those calls and they try to give the help that they can provide. We have standards that we have to adhere to. We have over 800 pages of policies for us. These are our policy books. And they are not separate. They're 1 and 2. 1 of 1, 2. There's 2,400 standards we have to meet. You guys, if you want to look at them, you can look at them. So all the officers, including myself and the lieutenant, have to abide by these standards and rules. And and so this dictates how we act. So we have to act in a certain way. We have to uphold the Constitution. We have to make sure that we're following all the policies and procedures put out by our department and by the select board. They want us to act in a certain way. This is how we act. And just because our rank is higher, we still have to meet that requirement. So because we can be called upon. The lieutenant, she goes out and she handles calls. I go out, I handle calls. I still make motor vehicle stops. I still go out and interact with the public. But we all have our rules and that we have to follow. So there's new officers that they come onto this department. Within the first couple of days, we give them all of them. And we say, here you go, learn these.
Yeah.
And it's not about memorizing them. And a lot of it is common sense. It's just knowing where they are and how to find them. And say, all right, well, how does the town want me to act at this type of call? And because there's certain best practices that we look at, and certain things that we look across the country. International Association of Chiefs of Police puts out some great policies that has said this is worked across the country and across into some other countries as well too, and they put policies together. So I'm not like inventing all these from like our computer and scratch and saying I think this is the best practice. No, we're looking at everything that all the communities do, and what has worked and what's the science behind it too. So that's so part of our daily activities is going out and interacting with the public. Now, sergeants make sure that our rules that we put down, or our mission statement, is followed. For me, one of my big things is, for example, traffic. It's a big complaint by residents. A lot of speeding cars. So I have a rule that the officers are required to do 1 hour of traffic enforcement a day. They can still do it throughout their whole 8-hour shift, but I want them dedicated in one spot for an hour, enforcing the traffic at that location. So sergeants have to do it too, but then they also have to make sure that their shift does it. And if their shift doesn't do it, because we check, then we ask the sergeant, tell me why you allowed your officer not to do that. And there are reasons, sometimes we're busy, but that's what the sergeant does. They make sure that our rules are enforced, or our requests are enforced. We have great officers here. They don't really have to say, they don't have to tell them to do anything. They're really great. They do it on their own. They just, and they know what my wishes are, I guess. So they know that.
Expectations.
My expectations, thank you. So what my expectations are, and but the sergeants just make sure that those things happen. And then they also make sure that these policies are followed. So if they see an officer doing something that they're not supposed to do, before it gets anywhere, they can say, oh, hold on a second. And they have the authority to tell other officers what to do. And then we look at what the sergeants are doing and what the officers are doing. And if we don't like what we're seeing, we tell the sergeant, hey, we don't like this. Fix it. So, and then there's the administrative stuff, right? I mean, I became a cop a long time ago, and I was like, this is great. I love the outside. I love being on cruise. I love talking to people. And I'm and I love it. I love my job. I love being a police officer. I love being chief. I love being chief in Stow. I grew up here. I haven't left. My parents still live in town. This is home to me. And so I'm very fortunate to live, work in the place I grew up at, which is not a lot of people do anymore. And I'm fortunate.
I will say, me and the chief, we worked, we both have been on the job for a really long time, and we both were detectives around the same time, and we both worked cases together. So we actually have a history before I came here. So I've known him a long time, and you know what, I landed where I was supposed to be. When my career started in 1999, I started in a small agency like this. And then I went to a 100-man agency, and then I ended up in there. And so when I came here, this is like the roots of where I started my career, which I really love, because I think it's community and smaller communities as knowing people by name and being comfortable, having them come to me and talk to me, because everybody's human and I want to know what's going on if you have an issue, right? The other thing is, we had 2,400 standards. When me and Mike first became cops, this was like non-existent, right? Like, it was do what your sergeant said, right? Just do what your sergeant said. And when we talk about best practices, we truly mean that. Like, policing has changed. Specifically in the last 5 years, policing has really, really changed. And so we want our personnel.
What's changing?
So everything really stems out of, for policing, it's a funny thing, we talk about this all the time. Everything comes from California for some reason. Like, all of the changes in law enforcement generally come from California and they make their way. And I will say, parts of the country, policing is different than like a Massachusetts or a New England state or even California, because a lot of the cops in those states, we have to be educated, meaning we needed a formal education. For the majority of police officers to get hired, need an associate degree or a bachelor's. And so that just gives a life experience that's different than maybe some other parts of the country that they don't have that, right? This is a profession here, while other places it's a job, where sometimes the money is not that great and they have to work a second job, right? And then California, for some reason, I do not know why, maybe the chief knows why, all of our stuff comes up there. They seem to try things first. And then it just slowly makes its way out here. But obviously, you know, we had a couple incidents in the country that changed the course of policing, that the communities wanted policing to change. And so you have to go with we work for the community. We don't work for ourselves. We work for what is the best practice and what are people looking for in your community. And that's, you know, really, really how things have changed.
Like when I was going to school, we didn't have police officers in the school.
Right.
So we look at, which Lieutenant was saying, like, what's different between us and Massachusetts. So our police academy is over 900 hours. Okay, so it's 6 months long, but it's up to 22 weeks sometimes. It depends on which one you go to. Other places could be 150 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big difference there. And so we're trained more in use of like force or de-escalation techniques, how to interact with people better, better patrol procedures, better domestic violence training. So we have great trainers here in Massachusetts. They're unbelievable. And they keep the standard high. They want us to, because we're a reflection of them. But then also here in our police department, you already met the clinicians, right? So the Stow Police Department brings it a step further. Now, because not everybody has to go to jail. Not everybody has to, be put in handcuffs. We want to keep people in their homes. And so a big thing is the mental health, right? So people who are in mental health crisis do not need to be arrested. They need help. So we all heard about defunding the police. Well, we were already so low in our funding here in Stow that there's no money can be taken from us. But what I was able to do was secure a grant that pays for the clinicians. So now we're on our third and a half year, fourth year under a state grant that we're able to have this. So the jail diversion clinician comes in our cruiser. So you see us, right? Where Kelly doesn't have any equipment on, but I have, a firearm. This is for later. I'm going to show you my vest and everything. But we all have equipment. So I have a taser, I have handcuffs, I have all this equipment that I can do to keep myself and other people safe. Or I could be like, here you go, Rachel. I can deploy her into the scene. And so we're very fortunate. Every police department has that. And then further on, so I found it very frustrating as a police officer that I would put a lot of work and effort when I was a detective sergeant into cases. And it would go to court and we'd get dismissals, not guilties. It was very frustrating. And I knew I had a solid case. And based on rules of evidence or just defense attorneys' motions, not the whole truth would come out because they are able to suppress this. And it's not based on bad police work. It's just based on what the court believes as to be good science. And that's like for drunk driving. They don't take all of the roadside tests we do. We do 4 of them. Only 2 are accepted in Massachusetts. It's just the way it goes. But so with that frustration, I was able, when I was a detective, to start being involved in restorative justice. And now I am on the board for Communities for Restorative Justice, which is a nonprofit out of Boston. And it was started out of Concord District Court. And now we have 28 police departments and 1 Hampton County DA's office that are involved. And what we do here in Stow, we're part of 4 communities in the state. We do what's called RJ First. Every case, except interpersonal violence, sexual assaults, domestic violence, go to restorative justice. So if we have someone who we catch very whatever, we just had a theft at one of the orchards. They took They took a bunch of food out of there, and I thought they were going to take the money, the honest money jar, and they did. They left it. So instead of bringing that person to court, we're able to identify who they are. We're going to do a restorative justice. So all of our cases go to a restorative justice first, and we do that process. And that way, the recidivism rate, if you go to court, is around 45%. I'm sorry, 56% of the people recidivate who go to court. 11% of the people who participate in restorative justice. So what are we doing for our society? What are we doing for Stow? How are we keeping Stow safer? We're making sure people have the ability not to commit the crime again, have those skill sets.
And make decisions too. Like people make poor decisions, right? And like people are human. They make a bad decision. I don't know why they stole food. Maybe they needed it, right? So we're going to punish them, put something on their record, a felony or whatever on their record for the rest of their life that can affect their job, that can affect their schooling, that will affect them, as long as they live. So is there another way? Because not everybody has to go to court. And, we find it to be a great opportunity for these individuals who made a mistake.
So is restorative justice going to court?
No.
No, it's
So restorative-
you bring the parties together?
Yeah, so what we do is, C4RJ is the name of the organization.
Okay.
Communities for Restorative Justice. And we have volunteer facilitators. We have about 150 of them across the state. I think there's about 6 in Stow, actually, that are volunteers. They come in and we have what's an opening circle, and we call responsible parties. Those are your suspects, defendants, and your victims are called impacted parties. And they're in a circle. The facilitators are with them. The support is with them. Police are there, and the case worker is there too. And then the person, the responsible the impacted party has a choice if they want to talk first, or if they want to not talk at all, or talk second. And the police, we tell what the story is. This is what it came to us. This is what the possible punishment is. And then the responsible party will say, this is why I did it. And then the impacted party will say how it was impacted their lives. And then we come up with a restorative justice agreement. And that could be anything from a letter of apology to community service to counseling to whatever restores the harm to that person. And then we have a closing circle at the end to make 3 months later to make sure everything is completed.
And this is a problem that you've fostered and brought to Stow, right? That's not something that Massachusetts kind of broadly...
So it was started when I was a detective here
Okay.
from a previous chief.
Yeah.
And I continued on with it. And then we were able to go to the State House in 2013. I was able to go, and we were supporting testimony that allowed a law to be passed because, we have a circle. We have police officers. They're in their room. They're in this room because we do it in this room. We have to make sure people's rights are still adhered to, right? So I have somebody who's admitting to committing a crime. Well, we have to make sure that isn't used against them. That's Fifth Amendment right. So this law makes it so that anything said in that circle doesn't come out of that circle. I can't use that against anybody. And our cases are complete before we do this. I'm not looking for evidence. I'm not looking for a confession. Our cases is done.
They could go to court. Like they could officially go to court if the case has been investigated, completed, and it could go to court. But this is route that we take. I said
it's just an alternative way to handle crime, and we're finding that it's beneficial here because good people make bad decisions sometimes, and so we can't hold that against them. Some people need to go to jail, but some people don't need to. What can we do to help our community really? I don't want to keep you guys. I can keep talking about it.
No, it's good.
we do have we work with the high risk domestic violence team, which is that's one of if you talk to law enforcement officers, we deal with primarily a lot is like the everyday dog barking complaints, right? Just your life quality issues. And then you deal with mental health as a huge portion of our job, and then domestic violence. Those would be your 3 main categories of, and everything else falls between. You can have anything, right, happen on any day. We can't say that we don't, but within the Stow Police Department, we do have a high risk team that we work with, and so being able to afford a victim the empathy and meeting with them and helping them through court and having a service that walks with them the whole entire way is a great thing. It's something that the chief knows it's near and dear to my heart. I've been doing that for the last 15 years of my career, so it's something that we take really, really seriously in the police department.
So we read the blotter.
Okay, yes.
Everyone in town reads the blotter.
Yeah,
And some of it's kind of funny.
absolutely.
But do you ever want to tell the community, don't call us?
No.
Okay.
Because, and that's how you.
Because, but okay. So sometimes week after week after week, someone is calling you because this golf course is flooding their yard. And they're calling you for some reason.
Yes.
I'll tell you why. Honestly, we're the only people open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Yeah.
People call us for everything because they don't know who else to call. Now, if they call me and something was flooding, am I going to have the answer? Probably no. Am I going to try and find the answer? Yes. I'm going to try and help them because that's my job, right? My job is to work for the community and assist them in their time of need. We're not going to have every single answer. Like if someone calls me because there's, some random animal that is like something that I don't know about, I'm going to be like, who can I call? Like the lizard people? I don't know, So we'll figure it out. But we are open. And people do not, that's true for all law enforcement. We go, why would they call us? Well, they'll call us because we're the only people here all the
I
time.
think that's okay.
At all
And
hours.
it's okay.
That's
So
okay.
I always say, so a pet peeve of mine is people say, I was going to call, but I didn't want to bother you. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you're not bothering us.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
Right.
Please call.
right.
Please call. And I'll give you a quick story before we move on. So yes, they're funny. We don't put, we put
What happens
what
in-
happens in our law.
Yes.
It's the press that takes out the little snippets. It puts in the paper. We don't write to the paper.
Yeah, no, I
Right.
know.
So some things that look funny
Yeah.
are not,
Right,
we don't put it in as joking. Like they are the ones that kind of take their,
Sometimes it's comical, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, really?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?
So-
We scratch our heads too sometimes, I'm not gonna lie.
And you said, well, would I, like, you tell people, like, why would you call? And this is what I go back to, is when I first started my career, I was a part-time officer way back when in the E7, and I was also a dispatcher. And when I went through my dispatch training, I became a 911 instructor. And one of the stories that was told to me, and it's always resonated with me, is that somebody called 911 and they said, there's a squirrel in my house. And I laughed because I'm like, that's pretty funny. And the 911 dispatcher said, this is not 911. Call the animal control, and hung up on him. She calls back and says, listen, this is a real emergency. I got a squirrel. It's destroying everything in my house. And the 911 dispatcher, I told you already, call animal control, and hangs up. She calls back a third time and she goes, listen, I'm blind. And the squirrel is destroying my house and knocking everything over. I need help. Can you send somebody over? So I always look at that as like, I will always go. The officers here will always go. They'll always go to a call and help. If they don't know the answer, they'll try to find out. And that's what's a great advantage of this department, because they will always try. And they won't give up until they get you the help you need.
I can tell you, I've gone to a squirrel in the house. Did I know what to do? No. I literally had a pillow because it was bouncing off us. But you go to those calls and you just try and figure it out, right? So.
Because when we come in, right? I mean, you guys all looked at us when we came in, when they walked out, all eyes on us, right?
Yeah.
So like you bring a sense of calm sometimes. Some other people maybe not, but for the most
Yeah.
part, people would
Some
bring a sense.
people, yeah.
Oh, thank God, we see X. So, real quick, we do have some other upcoming events. Some flyers. So we have a town hall next week. If you want to come and talk to me more, it's kind of like I don't know if you've ever seen the politicians do it. They stand up at town and have questions. I have no set agenda whatsoever. I'm going to be completely vulnerable. I'll talk about budgets and everything that you guys want in here. And it's at the historic town hall, so you can come with that. We're doing some internet safety stuff with I forget the doctor's name, but she's gonna you can put that on. But she's going to be doing a whole lesson for parents on cell phone safety, and we're going to be present too to talk about what we do if we need to investigate anything with cell phones. And then in August we have two really major events. We're doing a national night out, and it's going to have we're going to have like nonprofit organizations going to be there. We have fire department, highway. We're going to be there. We'll have some fun and games, food trucks, ice cream truck, and it'll be a fit night out. And then on August 14th. I don't know if any of you've seen on Netflix the Gabby Petito story. So it was this young girl who was like an influencer, and she was murdered by her boyfriend. And there was a lot of failures along with police. And so we're bringing the parents here to talk about it. So they'll be here on August 14th. So the parents are we're collaborating with the library for that. So it'll be up at Hale School. And so if you watch the Netflix series, you'll be able to see what's coming our way. So the last part of the tour is we're going to show you equipment, show you the rest of the station, and I encourage you guys to keep asking questions.
You want? Oh, we'll
Especially
show
you two. You guys are
Yeah,
really
you guys
quiet.
are so loud back there. We will. I'll show you. So this is the Chiefs vest. I have a little bit of different one, but so the vests weigh about I don't know, just like 15, 20
You guys can
pounds.
pick it up too.
You can pick it up. They're pretty heavy. With everything on them, they weigh about 30. So we have the cameras. So that's like the E and the Chief. We wear the cameras. So when we stop a car, everything is audio and video recorded. This is a taser, which I don't know what the volts are, 20.
I think it's 50,000 volts.
50,000 volts. There's two ways to use a taser. There's one where you can deploy it where it shoots out and it sends two prongs, and it basically makes the muscles freeze up and you kind of just like fall down. And then the other way is you can just hold it up. Yeah, you don't. The other one you can hold up against it and it will just make your, we kind of like freeze up, and it allows us to take someone who's out of control kind of and put them into control. You get a flashlight, you have your magazines for your firearm, you have pepper spray, handcuffs. A lot of people carry 2 sets of cuffs, and you might ask me, why, Cal, why do they carry 2 sets of cuffs? There are some people who could not get their hands literally behind their backs. Or if you have a bigger individual who's like a muscly individual, they can sometimes only make it to here. So, and then sometimes you arrest more than one person at a time. It can happen. So, but again, there's the bulletproof vest is inside this vest. This is called an outer carrier, which most police departments have now gone to. Old school cops, we still have a couple of them like to wear their vest underneath their shirt, which they have that option, and they wear all their stuff on their belts. They found that is, I don't want to say detrimental, but it's caused major issues for law enforcement because we do work to 32 years. That's what we have to do to collect our pension, and 32 years of that weight on your belt ruins officers' hips and their backs. So this is a more economical and safer way of wearing all the equipment.
You guys should pick it up. There's another vest we're going to see later. It's twice as heavy that we wear too. So we have what in here. We have a kitchen that they can use. You guys can walk down. It's okay. Come on. We won't fight. It's just a kitchen. And so they can cook their food and for their lunch if they want to keep their food here, because it gets expensive going out all the time. Oh yeah. Come on, keep coming down. So what we have here. Actually, I'm going to sneak behind you for a second. No problem. So right here is our evidence. So evidence behind these walls is where all of our evidence is collected. Only certain officers have a right to go in here, and we keep track of everybody who goes in here because we want to make sure when we have evidence collected that nothing happens to it, it's never tampered with, and that because we have to put a strong case forward for our victims. And so we want to meet, and we also want to be fair to the defendants too, because defendants have rights as well too. And this is what happens is if I collect a piece of evidence, we put it in a temporary locker here. I lock it up, and then I tell the evidence officer, and he's the only one who has the key. He takes it out, and everything we do is logged. So when I put it in there, I say that I put it in this date and time. And when Sergeant Nelson takes it out, he says he logs it that I took it out this date and time, and I put it on, and all the shelves are marked inside this room here, and it's all under video surveillance. And then if it has to go to the lab for testing, he writes I took it out of this location, and I drove it down to the lab. And then we get a receipt from them. So every step of the way, there's a chain of custody. Come on down. So we talked about, you guys, someone asked about what kind of exercise we do, right? So I really believe that officers' mental and physical well-being go together. And when you're sitting in a cruiser and for 16 hours and you're driving, you could have, your joints and your knees and everything gets, tight and everything. And if we go from nothing to chasing after somebody, that could be really painful. You could, pull a muscle or pull a tendon. So I allow the officers to work out an hour, if guys, come on in.
I was in the middle of working on actually, we got a call, so.
So,
don't mind the wait.
so I do allow the officers to work out an hour on duty, so they can come in here, and they can, you know, stay fit. And it does a lot for their mental well-being as well as their physical well-being too. So they can come in and do whatever equipment that they want. It's not mandatory, it's just an option, especially when you're here for 16 hours. Here is our, this is our booking area here. And so what we do is when we have somebody under arrest, we bring them through the garage here. We shut the garage door. And what we end up doing is the first thing we do when we get out of it, we start, is we take our firearm, we lock it in those lockers. You saw 4 there, and there's 4 that should walk by. And we do that because we're really close, right? So if I'm your handcuffs and I'm really close to you, and you don't let me here, some people don't want me under arrest, and I get it. The church like to see it. Well, we want to take away tools using curb-outs. So we get rid of the fire. So that goes walked away. So now we get you out of the police car, and we bring you in here, and then we put you inside the cell here. Like, yeah, just
Right.
so we put you in there. We go through certain processes on how we unhandcuff somebody, because we have a process procedure on how we handcuff somebody. And unhandcuffing somebody, we actually have a process procedure on that too. We want to have complete control of that individual, and we want to make sure that they're not going to try to hurt themselves or us. And then once they're in there, we pat them down again. Every time I take control of somebody, I pat them down for weapons. If I gave that, I say, Kelly, can you put this person in your cruiser? And she takes control of that person, she pats you down too. Every time that person, because we want to make sure we don't miss any weapons or property. And then if I take you out and you need here, we pat you down again. We don't want to miss anything. Is officers being hurt and killed by other officers missing weapons, guns, and knives. So
You'd be surprised when people can hide things.
yeah, we could be surprised. Exactly. So once you're in there, you don't have any contraband or weapons, we go through our booking process. We have 40 your right to a phone call, we have 40 your right to remain silent, to an attorney, all those things that you see on TV. And if you're arrested from driving, for your breath test. And we have a lot more rights that go along with that too. You get to see a doctor if you want. You get, right to a doctor, another phone call. And we ask you, I can't make you breathe into a machine. I can't do the Heimlich on you before doing it. So I give you the option of being, do you want to take this? I take it. And if you don't take it, then your license is suspended for a long time. If you take it, you fail, it's suspended for a little time. Sure time. So it all depends on what you want to do. We can't give you advice. And we've had some people that will say, I don't know, let's talk to my attorney. And the law says, no, you don't need to talk to your attorney on that. I don't know, maybe not. They try to do
Well, what do you think?
What do you think?
They'll say, what do you think? Oh, I can't answer that for you.
And then eventually we just process it as if you refused it. And then your license is suspended for a year longer period of time. And then we ask you all your questions. Where do you work? Where do you live? How tall are you? What's your mother's name? What's your father's name? And we ask you all these demographic questions because we want to make sure that you're not, and we can find you. Because if you don't show up to court, then we'll issue a warrant. And then we have to go look for you. Once we do all that, we take your fingerprints on this nice new machine that we were able to get last year. But that was the state paid for that. So that was like one piece of equipment that the state actually paid because they have a bigger project in mind. They want to make sure that who we're arresting and the names are telling us and we get positive identification of people. So people lie to the police.
I was going to say, you'd be surprised.
People lie to the police.
Yeah, you'd be surprised that some people will tell us they're one person, but they don't have identification on them. And then you hook them up to the machine and it comes back as someone totally else. So it definitely does happen.
Sounds like it happens more often.
It can happen. I mean, like the chief said, there are people who don't want to be here. And there are people who might have a warrant out for their arrest, but they've been arrested before and they have people looking for them. And so they're going to give you a false name because they don't want to get more trouble than they're already in. And so if you come up to that machine, they're in the system and it will hit on them.
It sounds like you use the machine and you use your cell quite a bit. I thought Stow was so quiet and
So
how often do you use it? So.
Okay, so in years past, we used to be averaging around 100 arrests or so. And then in the past, and we had COVID, and then the DAs were like, "Listen, we don't want you to bring people here," summons people in, and then a year ago, we started more of the restorative justice process, and so we're about 15 to 16 arrests a year.
You're right, yeah, arrest, like bringing people
Physical in
yes.
custody, handcuffs on people, and we're mainly arresting people for drug driving and domestics and warrants. Those are our main arrests. And so people who've committed a domestic assault battery or assault, now they're coming here. Someone who's drunk driving is coming here, and someone who has a warrant, and we have to take them in. So those are the main people.
You always handcuff in behind the back.
Absolutely. That's our policy.
Unless they're pregnant.
Yeah. So, and then after all that looking is done, they go into the cells, and you actually be more than happy to take. We got take a look. We have 3 cells here. Come and take a look.
Let's get it.
Keep a hold of somebody here. We have to bring we have to afford bail. So after we finish our booking, we contact the bail commissioner. And the bail commissioner has to come out and release the individual to be at court the next day. There are some crimes that they don't. And so bad that the bail commissioner is going to be like, we're not releasing that person. Or they may have a criminal history that they don't want to release the person because they're a flight risk. Or they could be a court order saying we're not going to release that person. In that case, if we arrest you the longest you would stay here is if we arrested you on a Friday afternoon after the court closes and there was a holiday Monday like coming up, you'd be here till Tuesday morning. And we don't want you here that long. Honestly, like we want you out. Someone here who's like 3 or 4 days, no shower, just you get nothing in there. It's not fun. So like we do our job, but it also costs us money too as a police department because come on, you guys can come back out. So you'll see these like buttons on the wall and the buttons that are in that wall too. And what it is this is a wand and it's a cell check. Because I take someone in custody or my office takes someone in custody, we are responsible for your safety now. So I have to make sure that you are safe all the time. So I have to come in every 30 minutes and check. Okay, you're okay. And that just documents the fact that I was at that location. So I have to do, or the officers have to do that every 30 minutes because we are responsible for you. We want to make sure, even though you're under arrest, we have to make sure that you're okay. And if you need medical care, we have to call the ambulance. They'll bring you to the hospital, but we have to have an officer that stays with them. We still have to make sure the road's covered, so we have to pay overtime for somebody to be here. So there's a lot of cost in arresting somebody. And that's why we try to do other means, some alternative, restitution means or whatever we need to do, because we don't want someone in here for 3 days is not a deal. So, for anybody, for that person or for us. Any questions on this area here?
When you take someone in, like you leave your gun, do you like leave all your other weapons too, or do you keep some stuff on you?
So what I do is I still have the vest on, and I actually put my keys with it, my car keys
For the cruiser.
for the cruiser, because I have done it. I've done it a couple times in my career where I arrested somebody, I had my gun there, and then a call comes in, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go, and I just run out of the cups into the car and drive to the call, and then I'll be like,
Oh, you don't have a gun.
I don't have my gun on me. So you only do that a couple times in
Yeah.
your career. You start learning not to do that.
But no, we do have all of our other equipment.
Yeah, all the other.
Because sometimes people in custody can also be problematic, or some of them, we depend on each other as officers to make sure that we're always doing the things right, but mistakes do happen where people have gotten out of handcuffs, or they've wriggled, their way to the cuffs in the front. Like, anything can happen, so we have to be, we have to be on the ready, and we keep the rest of our equipment.
Are you with somebody if you arrested them, or is it a rule that?
There's usually a second officer coming in, so. Usually.
Sometimes there isn't.
Yeah, everyone's all right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, come on in. So this is the last spot on the tour. You do have 2 garages here. This is the one that we use mainly to bring in people who are under arrest. Inside that cage area is for our large evidence that we're holding. That you'll see a backpack in there right now, and that was a backpack that was stolen locally, and the detective was able to find who did it, and that person is actually going to go through the restorative justice process. And a lot of people will say restorative justice is for kids. That person who stole it was just 51 years old. So it's for everybody. So what do we have? We drive Ford Explorer police vehicles. They're all-wheel drive. We have a lot of bumpy roads in Stow. We have some hills in Stow we have to get through. So we want to make sure that we can serve you guys. You guys, wherever your house is, we want to make sure we can get there. And then that's why we have the all-wheel drive vehicles. These cruisers, they all have computers and printers because the officers can do all the reports from out on the road if they have to. And when we issue tickets, they can do it right from the computer and it prints out. You don't see the handwritten tickets anymore. As a town, as a police department here in Stow, we're more on the side of education than we are writing people money tickets. I think last year we wrote, it was probably under 15 actual money tickets, although we stopped hundreds of cars. It was because money tickets really hit people hard. Didn't fix their insurance, and we don't want to do a lot of that to people. They're already having a bad day. They're being stopped by the police. We get that. So, it's more education. Get off your cell phone. Slow down. Don't go through the red light. Stuff like that. We have our radio system. I'll put the lights on for you too, but you can also see the cell where we put people in the back.
Yeah, so in the back, we have the half cage system. So it's really dependent on the police department, but the seats are made of plastic. The door is made of plastic material. Why do we think that? Because sometimes people like to vomit or spit or defecate and paint the cruiser with it. So therefore, easy washing, right? I call this the airplane seatbelt, that we strap everybody in that comes in custody. The cage system right here, the bar system, officers have learned over the years, people will kick the window out. So when someone's really upset, so this saves them from smashing their head into it if they're really upset, or kicking a window out. So all the cruisers are equipped with that. Is this one at the front firearm system? Or what? Is the fires in the front or the back? No, I'm not going to show anybody. I'm going to explain it to them. Oh, this is only in front.
So I said earlier that we'll give you an opportunity to check out. This is what we wear. So all officers are trained if we have like an active shooter and you need to go in and stop that threat. So we wear our vest and then we wear this on top of it too. And then this way it keeps us safe and keeps us going to end the violence.
It's called a flak vest. It's way heavier than what we wear. Obviously, a rifle shot's any different than a pistol shot. So obviously, we can use this too if we're going in for extra added safety. Each cruiser is equipped with documentation. So motor vehicle accidents, tow slips, stuff like that, domestic violence rights. We have to give people paperwork in certain situations. So each cruiser has that documentation, as well as evidentiary stuff. If we have a car accident or a medical, we're equipped with gloves, a med kit. We have a bag that we can do CPR with, or an AED. And then traffic, right? That's one of our biggest issues. Motor vehicle accidents, we can shut down roads. We have the gate system. And then these are stop sticks. So if a pursuit happens, these get deployed out, and they're like a little spike system where it will deflate tires in a pursuit. We have is this a Helden? Helden and a sledgehammer in case we have to enter a residence. And there's many reasons we might have to go into a residence, and it's not all bad. Or I don't want to say it's not like someone's getting under arrest. Someone might need help inside, and we have to enter a residence, and we can't get in, and we might have to break open the door. So
we have a water rescue buoy too, so we can. If someone is drowning, we can take this. It's like a frisbee, and basically, in a rope, you hold onto this end, or you tie it around your leg, and you throw the frisbee out to them, and that way, because if we go in with all our gear on, we're sinking very quickly. So, if you're going after somebody, you'll see us take our belts off and do what we need to do to go in there.
Does this somehow deploy remotely? Like,
No, we have to throw it.
so that
Yeah.
seems very dangerous. That's what I see on TV.
Officers have
And
been,
it's like, they could
officers
be
have,
hit.
have been hit and killed,
Yeah.
during a pursuit, with the stop sticks, yes.
And this is, and again, this is ballistic as well too. And we just use this, just like if we're negotiating with somebody who's trying to harm themselves or somebody else, and we need to get closer to them. We want to have some protection for us as well. And that's, and I'm gonna put the lights on, and you guys can go all around the car.
And I do know that, one of the questions was asked if I would talk about like how our careers are, if you want to become a police officer for the young people in the audience. So my career started, I've been a police officer for 25 years now. I went to a military college. That's how I started my career. I went and got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And then went to a police academy, which the chief told me was about 900 hours. It was 23 weeks. I did a live-in police academy where you had to live there during the week and you could only go home during the weekend. Once I graduated that police academy, you get what's called field training. You go on with a police officer who's older than you, who's been on the job. They train you for a couple of weeks till they feel that you've accomplished what you need to, and then you go out on the road. Specialties, like I told you, I was a detective. So that is basically, what are your strengths? What do you want to do? Every police officer has the path that they want to make for themselves. I'm really good with victims, and I'm really good in interviewing interrogators. So it just fell kind of to me to be like, all right, detective is what I want to do, because I grew up watching NYPD Blue and all those shows, and I was like, I want to be a detective. That sounds really cool. I did that for 14 years, which is actually a really long time to be in the detective bureau. A lot of detectives do like a 5 to 7 year stint because we see some pretty rough things. And so I stayed longer because I had children, and for a woman in law enforcement, it was just not easier, but it was a better thing for me and my family. So my kids got to a place where I could then get promoted and go back to the midnight shift, because when you get promoted, generally that happens. So then I became a operational sergeant and was out on the road, and then I became the lieutenant. What I love to do in my career, I also got my master's degree. I have a master's in public administration. So, and that you would get that if you want to go higher up in a police department. Like usually above a sergeant, when you start becoming a lieutenant or a captain or a deputy chief, they look for you to have a higher education. I loved like doing the domestic violence investigations. That was one of my favorite. But what I love to do right now, and I've been doing it for the past 10 years, is I'm an instructor at the police academy. So I go around the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I teach brand new cops. I think to share knowledge with new police officers is really important, and to guide them into being like the best that they could be. I absolutely adore it. I think it's one of the best parts of my career, because I'm on the back nine, I like to call it. I'm getting ready to retire, and if I can give them some wisdom and knowledge, let's do it.